Hello, my name is Peter and welcome to another video about sailing vessel Silverheels, my Rhodes 22. Despite the fact that I'm standing here in the workshop, this is not going to be a project video. It just happens that it's raining out, so I'm hiding in here. This video is about new head sails for Silverheels. When I bought Silverheels in 2016, I bought it as used, or actually recycled from General Boats. Now when they recycle a boat down there in General Boats, they do a lot of work on it, but they don't put new sails on it. So I got a intermast furling mainsail and a 175% genoa, both obviously used. And between the two, obviously the genoa was the more used. And in the seasons that have passed since then, it's starting to pretty literally fray around the edges. So it's losing some stitching, and actually a whole stitch came out along the leech last year that fortunately my wife was able to repair. So I got through the end of the season with it as it was. But clearly it was a candidate for replacement. Now the age of the sail was not my only concern with it, really. After a few years, and especially last season, I began to suspect that it was not the right size sail for me. I found myself in too many situations where I had to reef it quite heavily because of the amount of wind, and found that it performed pretty poorly in that condition. Now, some of that is probably a lack of sailing experience on my part. Some of it's probably the age of the sail. But I think, from what I've read, inherently, the more you reef a roller reefing genoa, the worse its performance is going to be. So I thought that I'd be better off with a smaller head sail, and 135 is a popular size, and it seemed appropriate. So I went with that. But I was still concerned about light wind situations. I still want to be able to get somewhere when we have light breezes. And the Rhodes 22 email list, I thought, may have answered or provided a solution to that. Going way back to about 2002, there was a discussion of a sail from Doyle called the Utility Power Sail, or UPS. And it was a sail that it didn't use the forestay for support. It flied on its own luff. So you needed a halyard for it and a place to attach the tack at the bow of the boat. But when you use it, generally you would totally furl in your roller reefing genoa and fly this sail. And it was large and made out of light material, and so appropriate for light wind conditions. So I thought that's what I wanted, and I went out to the Doyle website and took a look around, and the only mention of the UPS I found on the website was actually a statement that implied the UPS had been superseded by a new sail called the Code Zero, which seemed to actually fill the same niche. It flew the same way. It was a large, light weight, light wind sail. I'm sure there are some differences in design, but it totally escapes me as to what they might be. So, with that knowledge in hand, I wrote an email to Doyle, said I wanted the 135 genoa, and I would have wanted a UPS, but since it's no longer available, I guess I'll take a Code Zero. And I got email back that said, oh, those silly web people, they don't know what they're talking about. Of course, we still sell the UPS, and it sounds like a good sale for you. So I ordered the Genoa and the UPS, and both have arrived. Now, so far, I see nothing in the Genoa that surprises me, but the UPS is not really what I expected. Again, going back to 2002, at that point, it was made out of nylon, 0.9 ounce, I believe, was the weight of the fabric. And it was also available in colors. So there was only one pattern for the sail, but you could mix and match colors as you pleased. But it's no longer nylon, and the new material, whatever it is, apparently is only available in white. So, but that's fine. I'm sure the new material has advantages, or they would have stayed with the nylon. But that did surprise me a little bit, and also it seems smaller than I thought it would be. But time will have to tell on that, I guess. I mean, obviously, I really don't know anything about sail design. So anyway, I've taken the 175 off the boat and laid it out on the ground, along with the new UPS and the new 135, and we can go take a look at those. So here I've got all three sails lying on the ground here, and I've got a stake through the head of all three sails, so those are all in the same place. And well, there's a couple things going on here at the tack. So this is the tack of the 175, and here's the tack of the new Genoa, and that's just about 5 inches shorter. The new one is 5 inches shorter than the 175, so that's fine. The tack of the UPS is like 18 inches longer than the tack of the new Genoa, and I'm not sure that's going to fit. I'm not sure why they would have cut it that way, but I think that's too long to fit in the space that's there. But moving on to the clue, way over here is the clue of the 175, and I have to admit I expected there to be more difference between the position of the clue of the new Genoa and the UPS, but I hope you can see, it might be a little hard because it's all white on white, but there is a big difference in how the UPS is cut. So there's a good 18 inches more sail along the leech for the UPS, and of course it is lighter, so it'll handle differently due to that as well. So well, we're just going to have to see if there's enough difference really to make having these two sails make sense. Time has passed. It's now the middle of June, and we still haven't gotten the boat into the water, but we're getting close. So I do have both new sails here on the boat, and the first thing I want to take a look at is up on the bow. So the new Genoa is on its furler, and there was really no trick to that. Well, maybe there was one trick, which actually happens when you take the old sail off. this line is attached to the tack of the sail and is tied to the drum. The other line, which is also secured to the drum, goes all the way up this extrusion. And when you pull the sail down, that line goes up, and you don't want to lose the end here. So what you need to do is attach a line to that, so that after you get the old sail off, you can pull on it to get the new sail up. And this is the line that General Boats provided to me for that purpose. Just about 30 feet of 1/4 inch line. Happens to have a little snap on the end of it. You can tie a knot pretty easily for as often as this needs to be done. The other thing that's going on up here is this is the attachment point for the new UPS. So I've just screwed an aluminum bar to the new bowsprit and put an eye bolt in it and a small block on that. And we'll talk more about this in a bit. So I have a bit more to say about the UPS at this point. And the first thing I want to say is there it is. So it's in a bin under the cockpit seat. And that was important to me, that it have a place to go. If it was still the old material, the 0.9 ounce nylon, probably would have been no issue. It was a bit of an issue with the new material, but it does fit in that bin. So there's a better shot of the bin. It's a 41 quart weather-tight tote that I got from the Container Store online. So it's a little bit bigger than the Rubbermaid totes, and it has these latches, 6 of them on there, to keep to keep the sail in there. Otherwise it would tend to try to escape. And as you may have noticed, I've got the sail, in addition to being inside the tote, it's also inside a bag. The theory is that it'll be easier to handle this way. Initial indications are that that's true. So this came from sewnsails.com, and it's their smallest sail bag size, which is more than big enough for this purpose. I forget the exact size. So when I'm out sailing, I try to avoid going out onto the deck on the bow when underway. I'm out there alone, and if I ever fell off, that would be the end of that. So I think I've come up with a way that I can launch and retrieve the UPS from inside the cabin. So I'll show you a bit about that. So we're standing in the cabin with the pop top up, of course. And here's the other end of that green line that runs up to the bow. And this is for the tack of the sail. So we're going to attach that hook to it, and then we can pull on the line to pull the tack out to the bow. And here's our halyard that we can attach to the head, and then it comes back down. It goes to one of the sheaves at the top of the mast, the starboard one, obviously. It comes back down and back through our deck organizer and back to the aft of the cabin. We've got some more cam cleats added here. There. So in the sail bag, we've got the head and the tack at the top of the sail bag. So those come out first and get attached. And in theory, we can hoist the sail. So there it is, the UPS is up. The raising did not go entirely smoothly. We'll have to work on preventing the head of the sail from getting caught on the spreader as it's raised. Having a little more wind than we had would probably help. So, and my concern about the sail being too big, the leech of the sail being too long, it was unwarranted, but it's close. There's a few inches of play there. I don't know if we're going to get that. So there's a couple inches up there and a couple inches at the tack. So now to get the sail back into the sail bag, we'll just do the process in reverse. The sheets and the clue of the sail will go in the bag first, and the head and the tack will go in last. Well, that went pretty easily, but probably will be more complicated if I'm actually underway. So now the bag needs to go back in its bin. I've only done this once before, and it required walking on it to compress it. I assume as the sail material ages, it'll get a little easier to stuff, but well, time will tell. So the UPS can be rigged with a furler, but I didn't do that for two reasons. One, it was very expensive. It was over $1,000 for this furler they wanted to sell me to go with the sail. The second is that I couldn't figure out a way to make the sail launchable from in the cabin if it had a furler on the tack. So this is the approach I've taken, but the furler option is available. And just for comparison purposes, I guess, there's the 135 Genoa. I really don't have anything more to say about the new sails at this point. Obviously, we'll have to get out onto the water and get some experience with them, at which point I'll probably have something to say as the summer progresses. Thanks for watching.